Hi everyone. So I have to be honest with you that after the initial shock and grief and horror at what we saw happen in Australia yesterday, the thought that's actually coming to the front of my mind now is the fact that many people are saying, on all sides of the political aisle, those who you and I feel on the same side of, as, and those who, are just feigning sympathy. They're all saying something quite similar now. Now has to be the time where we finally take a stand, where we finally wake up. The problem is, what does waking up actually mean? Because unless we're genuinely prepared to confront the Islamist threat, to state it clearly for what it is, then waking up means nothing. It does not count for anything. It is simply virtue signaling. It's simply moral posturing. And the reason I'm starting my video saying this is because I want to show you some of the information we now have on the shooter, which shows you just how much people like him, these two people, the father and son, have embedded themselves across the West, while the West has been sleeping, completely unaware. And it's really, really concerning. I saw a tweet by Konstantin Kissin, the Trigonometry podcast host, and he said something that sticks with me. It explains exactly how I feel. Every time something like this happens, I have a flash of naivety sweep through me. This will be the last straw. They'll stop pretending there's no problem now. Surely they can't just do don't look back in anger again, etc. Just watch. It'll be the same as every other time. And he's absolutely right, isn't he? That's the problem. We're not prepared to actually say what needs to be said. What is it that needs to be said? Any slight, not just incitement to violence, any signaling, any sympathy towards jihadism, Islamism, in any sense, you cannot expect to live in freedom in our country. I would even wonder whether the Western countries should require practicing people that subscribe to Islam to explicitly state that they are against extremism and violence, maybe denounce certain literal interpretations of verses. Why not? Well, you can't do that, it's discriminatory. Okay, well then just go to national suicide. That's what I think is really going on here. Footage has now come to pass of one of the friends of the son, the shooter. His name was Naveed Akram. And one of his friends was just interviewed. And he was in complete disbelief. I want to show you this clip where he was asked about this because it is disturbing beyond measure. Have a watch.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, 100%. 100% that's him.
And you were just sitting there flicking through social media.
And saw that.
And what did you think when you saw this bloke's face pop up?
Shock, disbelief, proper shock. Didn't think that someone that you could spend time with day in, day out on a job site could do something so cruel. No matter what the motives are or whatever behind it, it's just, it's wrong. And for what? He said he wanted to be remembered, but remembered for this. Worked in Nav probably on and off for about 5 years as a brickie. You wouldn't pick it, but that's him.
Mate, and when you saw this photo, is this the first photo you saw?
That's the
night?
first, the first one, the first close-up that I saw yesterday. And straight away could tell it was him.
And mate, what did you think?
Obviously in shock. Disbelief. Like, sort of a pretty quiet bloke. Kept to himself. Fairly polite. respectful, had his views, but never pushed anything on anyone. Yeah.
So when you say views, I mean, you'll be talking on site and the subject would come up and he would say what?
Yeah, in general. Sort of had his, I don't
No.
really.
Yeah, I mean, but did he speak about religion at all?
Sometimes, but yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't somebody to force things down your throat, but yeah, like his background's Indian and Italian. Like I think he's, so.
Yeah, his mum's Italian, right?
Yeah, his mum's Italian. Yeah.
Dad's Indian, yeah.
Yeah.
So, mate, I mean, of all the people to...
You wouldn't expect it. One thing that we used to talk about was he was licensed for firearms.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the things that sort of needs to be looked into. People like him just shouldn't be allowed firearms. They need to be doing more background checks, be more diligent in the processes. So
because that vision when he's up there taking aim, I mean, it looked like he could handle a gun.
Yeah, well he had. Like we used to talk about going shooting down at Crookwell, and he'd say he actually said to me once, I said, we should go for a shot down there one day, and he goes, I don't know if that'd be good for you, and I thought, okay, that's a bit weird, but yeah, he was a bit of a weird cat, but yeah, you didn't think you'd have that in him.
And on site, you were laying bricks together? Or?
Yeah.
Right, so you're just chatting, shooting the breeze, and
not much else to do besides talk a little bit of smack, but yeah, you just you'd never pick it.
And when did he leave work?
About a month ago.
Okay.
So I don't work for that company anymore.
Right.
But I was talking to one of the boys yesterday, and they said he left a month ago. Said that he'd injured his hand and was going to come back next year. And yeah, one of the last things that he said to one of the boys was he wanted to be remembered. So I think it's a pretty horrible thing to be remembered about. But
so I just want you to understand clearly here, okay? This we're seeing from everything this guy is saying is that he did not see him as someone that was in any way violent, that was any way trying to push his religion on others. He did not see this person as threatening or harmful. He knew he had firearms. What can be the conclusion of that? How can we make sense of all of that? In my mind, there's two elements to this. One element is you can say, well, it's mental illness. Okay, well, if it's mental illness, then why do we see this happening again and again and again? Or all these people that do this in the name of Islamism and the Quran they're all mentally unwell? Alternatively, this shows us the power of ideology to make people do the most horrendous things. People who are otherwise very seemingly calm, gentle, whatever it is he came across. I'm not saying that's what he was, but that's how he came across. This is what ideology can do to people. And indeed, we have an image of Naveed with an Islamic scholar, where he posts that he's at this Al-Murad Institute and he was successful in learning about clearly an element of Islam. So my view is very clear that ideology is what leads people to do great goodness. It also is what leads people to do great evil. And that's why tackling the ideology, both from a policy standpoint as a government and saying, if you have these ideologies, we are not going to tolerate you, that has to be a massive part of the solution. And also dealing with the ideology head on in an educational sense and tackling it and showing people how no, this is not holy. This is not serving God. That's what I believe JTV is about. We're trying to tackle both. We're trying to tackle the argument for having a far stronger sense of national security. And I'm talking both from Israel's standpoint and the Western standpoint. as a moral duty, but also trying to educate people about the truth about Israel and the Jewish people. And I'm hoping through that kind of education, creating a resolution of tension, a resolution of perverted ideology that many people from across the religious aisle and the political aisle believe in. I want to show you also a clip of the Prime Minister, Albanese, who was talking about this. And this, to me, goes back to Konstantin Kisin, where he said, we are burying our heads in the sand. Because what does he have to say? He is talking about the fact that, I mean, you'll be shocked to even hear it. He doesn't say Islam in this clip. No, not plans about deporting Islamist jihadists. Instead, he references right-wing extremists. Have a watch of this clip.
We take ASIO's advice very seriously. We work closely with them. We receive regular updates as well. The Director General of ASIO has warned about a range of threats, be it anti-Semitism, the rise of right-wing extremist groups as well. And we continue to work closely with our security agencies.
So when he talks about anti-Semitism, he doesn't say Islamist anti-Semitism, he says anti-Semitism. And then he talks about he have to jump in right-wing extremists. You know, Jeremy Corbyn in the UK did this. He was a far-left anti-Semitic politician. And every time we talk about anti-Semitism, he also has to say and Islamophobia and other forms of racism. That is fundamentally failing to address the problem. Another thing he does in this, in his speeches and his reactions from the anti-Semitic Bondi massacre is what? He says, we're going to tighten gun laws. Ah, brilliant, brilliant. That's your ultimate solution to all of this, tightening gun laws. Well, how would tightening gun laws have stopped the Manchester synagogue stabbing attack that took place a few weeks ago in the UK on Yom Kippur? If you don't address the ideology, if you're unprepared to even state it, and instead want to start saying, hey, look over there, what about right-wing extremists? Then the West, certainly Australia, is doomed. Utterly, utterly doomed. We have to stop burying our heads in the sand. I want to show you some more developments that have occurred, both in reaction to this, good and bad, and also a terror plot that has been foiled in America, an anti-Israel terror plot. And we'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, I have something really important to share with you.
On JTV, the global Jewish channel with a host named Ali.
Well, when even she's talking about you, you know you're having an impact. Thanks for the promo, Candice. When I launched JTV, the mission was simple: to bring Jewish ideas to the world, intelligently, creatively, proudly. But I never realised just how critical that mission would become today. Because let's be honest, look at the world right now. Anti-Semitic voices aren't just coming from one place anymore. They're rising from the left and the right, online and offline, from influencers to institutions. That makes voices like ours more crucial than ever. When the noise gets louder, the Jewish voice needs to get stronger. And that's exactly why JTV exists. And look how far we've come. Because of your support, JTV has grown in extraordinary ways. Our videos now reach millions across continents with clear, honest, original content at a time when the world needs clarity more than ever. Whether it's telling the uncompromising truth about Israel or the incredible depth and wisdom of Jewish ideas. We've brought you exclusive interviews with leading thinkers, creators, and voices shaping the Jewish and Israel conversation today. And in addition to our new members streaming platform, we've produced powerful documentaries that are freely available on our YouTube channel for everyone to watch, exploring the challenges and triumphs of the Jewish story. And the best part? We're not just talking to an echo chamber. Our audience is made up of Jews and non-Jews in equal measure, of all ages and backgrounds. You've watched us grow, video by video, story by story, but this is just the beginning. Now JTV is ready for its next leap forward, to scale our content, expand our reach, and bring thoughtful and inspiring Jewish media to an even wider global audience. and this is where you come in. Your support fuels everything: the research, the cameras, the creativity, the deeper investigations, the editing, the more high-profile interviews, and the bold ideas that inspire pride, wisdom, and truth. Every viewer matters, every story counts, and every donation helps JTV grow, not just in numbers, but in global impact. So if you've ever appreciated one of our videos, if JTV has ever informed you, inspired you, or helped you help others, please help us grow by clicking the link in the video description and donating to our campaign fundraiser. With your help, you won't just watch us grow, you'll help us grow even higher. Thank you, and keep watching us grow. So, listen, we at JTV do not have some big backer, some big foundation or donor. We really are the channel that is growing because of your support, because of your viewing, sharing, watching, and yes, contributing to us to allow us to fund and power everything that we're doing. The research, the interviews, documentaries, content, monologues, reactions, research, everything. It's down to your support. And we're so grateful for anything we're able to do. We've put the link in the video description for our annual campaign fundraiser. I can't wait for the day where we don't have to do these annual campaign fundraisers. But in order to power our free content every single day, for me to be able to do this full time, work with our team to churn out all this content and shine a light amidst the darkness, which of course is what Hanukkah is all about. Hanukkah is specifically about when it's dark, you shine light. That's what JTV was always about for me. And that's what our campaign's about. So if you go to the campaign page, you'll see some of the highlights of JTV over the last year, interviews, documentaries that we put out on YouTube for everyone to watch. If you're able to contribute in any way to help us continue to grow, I'd be so grateful. And more than that, you'll be partnering with us in sharing the light and truth of Jewish wisdom, values, and the truth of Israel in an uncompromising way to the entire world. That's what I believe is needed now more than ever, because the world, as I've been saying in this video, we can't count on them to wake up. We have to shine that light. We shouldn't just be fighting anti-Semitism, we have to create pro-Semitism. I don't believe that we can actually win this debate. We can win this war by simply defending ourselves on the PR field, responding to the accusations. We have to actually change the narrative. We have to lead the narrative. And that's what I believe this is all about. Now, I wanted to go back to some of the absurd reactions that we've been seeing to this that demonstrate just how people are prepared to bury their heads in the sand, or worse. And I say worse because this is what I want to share with you in the next clip. Dale Vince is a senior Labour Party donor in the UK. And he wrote that commenting on the shootings in Australia today, Netanyahu said anti-Semitism spreads when leaders stay silent. Nothing to do with Israel committing genocide in Palestine then. Netanyahu wants anti-Semitism to be a thing. It validates him. He acts to make it so. The campaign against anti-Semitism responded by saying, this just looks like despicable trolling. Islamist terrorists should be unequivocally condemned. By the way, Islamist terrorists have been doing anti-Semitic attacks well before the war in Gaza. Not that that needs to be said. I mean, they go the Mumbai Chabad family shooting, the Hypermarché supermarket attack in, when was it, 2013 or 2014 in France? Oh, well, it's to do with Israel. And, well, how would you explain the Islamic Arab terror pogroms against Jews in the 1920s in Hebron, or the 1830s in Svat? No, this has nothing to do with Israel, and this is plain Jew hate, this statement. And then he put out a subsequent... they wrote, Islamist terror should be unequivocally condemned. If Dale Vince cannot simply mourn the murder of innocent Jews, if he can't do that in Sydney from a 10-year-old to a Holocaust survivor, then he should have said nothing at all. His subsequent non-apology does nothing to remedy his grotesque downplaying of anti-Semitism. Someone with this revolting reaction to the slaughter of Jews celebrating Hanukkah should have no hand in British life. That's absolutely right. And the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, said that hours after the biggest massacre of Jews since October 7th, the Labour Party's largest donor tweeted, Netanyahu wants anti-Semitism to be a thing. A morally repugnant statement. Will Keir Starmer condemn his big financial backer? Staying silent implies he sees nothing wrong in it's shocking to see this level of not just hatred, but it's unashamed. I can't imagine any other grouping, any other people being treated like this. Greta Thunberg, also, Saint Greta. Literally hours after the Bondi attack, she urged supporters to mobilise and escalate. Zero acknowledgement of the victims, no call for calm, just agitation. Why is outrage always amplified but responsibility never mentioned? British Intel wrote. I'll show you the clip, but this should be no surprise to us, given that before Israel deported her, after her attempted entry into Gaza with her flotilla, they got her to sit down and watch the October 7th footage that Hamas filmed on their GoPros. She refused to watch it. So should we be surprised?
Today, I and people all over the world are sending solidarity to the 8 individuals who are on hunger strike in British prisons, demanding that the government meets their demands of immediate bail, a right to fair trial, the deprescription of Palestine action, and an end to censorship. These individuals have been held in prison, some for over a year, without trial, and are currently unconvicted of any crime to date. They are on 42 days of hunger striking, a critical point that could lead to irreversible damage to their health and bodies. It is up to the state to intervene and put an end to this by meeting these reasonable demands that pave the way for freedom of all those who choose to use their rights, trying to stop a genocide. Something the British state has failed to do themselves. Mobilize and escalate to ensure the government cannot ignore their demands, and most importantly, continue to answer their calls to shut Elbit systems down.
Do people genuinely still fall for this? I'm curious. Maybe I just live in an echo chamber. I don't know. Are there really that many people out there that look at this and think, yeah, she's right? Right after an actual attempted genocide against Jews in Australia. They were just targeting Jews and wanted to get as many Jews as they can before they were killed. It's the opposite of reality, that Israel's doing the genocide. I'm telling you, one day we will look back on this and think, how are we so fooled? Because, people think about the Nazis versus the Allies trying to persecute the Jews. It was all very clear and morally black and white. Well, actually, it wasn't back then. Many people called for appeasement. Many people said, well, Hitler maybe he's not so bad. Some even said the Jews had it coming. Well, now we have that moral clarity, and in the future, I can tell you that I think the same is going to happen. I do think the same will happen. I think in the future, people will look back and they'll think, wow, how did we get so fooled to believe that the Palestinian cause represented anything moral? And the danger of being asleep at the wheel, the West being asleep at the wheel, is quite simply that we're going to see more of these attacks. And as we know, what starts with the Jews ends with the Jews. And indeed, what's just been revealed is that there was a New Year's Eve terror plot that the FBI have just foiled, planned by a pro-Palestinian, or really just anti-Israel and anti-Semitic group, to be done in California. Have a watch.
The FBI now reports that it's disrupted a planned New Year's Eve terror attack in Los Angeles. 4 suspects in custody, the FBI identifying them as members of a pro-Palestine extremist group. They're suspected of planning coordinated IED attacks targeting 5 different locations in Los Angeles. But based on the reporting now, that plot has been foiled. We will wait for more out of LA or out of Washington, D.C. The FBI.
Well, it turns out we now do have more details that I want to share with you. So, what are the details that we have? They are as follows. First of all, federal authorities have said that they disrupted a credible terrorist threat over the weekend, arresting 4 alleged members of a radical pro-Palestinian extremist group accused of planning coordinated New Year's Eve bombings in Los Angeles. The FBI told Fox News Digital that the members of self-identified as part of a radical offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, an extremist group motivated by pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement and anti-government ideology. According to the FBI, they were allegedly planning coordinated bombing attacks on New Year's Eve using improvised explosive devices, targeting 5 separate locations across Los Angeles. The agency said the 4 were arrested in Lucerne Valley where they were believed to be preparing to test explosive devices ahead of the planned attacks. They've each been charged with conspiracy and possession of a destructive device. The FBI said Monday that a fifth individual, believed to be connected to the same TILF extremist group, was arrested in New Orleans for allegedly planning a separate attack. A TILF Instagram account said its founding chapter is in LA, and its goal is to free Turtle Island, an indigenous name used to refer to North America from the illegal American Empire. Quote, "Free Palestine, free Hawaii, free Puerto Rico," the account posted. "Freeing the world from American imperialism is the only way to a safe and peaceful future," it continued. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on X that the Department of Justice worked with the FBI to prevent the alleged terror plot in the Central District of California. She said TILF was also planning to target US immigration and custom enforcement agents and vehicles. "This was an incredible effort by our US Attorney's Office and the FBI to ensure Americans can live in peace," Bondi wrote. "We will continue to pursue these terror groups and bring them to justice." All I can say is, again and again, the point here is clearer than ever. We need to wake up and start taking these threats more seriously. And we have to stop indulging in the nonsense, the lies of the anti-Israel cause and this idea there's any distinction between what the Islamists and the anti-Semites want and what the anti-Israel cause is all about. There's no difference. I'm sure there are many people in the anti-Israel camp who genuinely care for the Palestinians, quote unquote. That's just a cynical term they created. They're Arabs. I'm sure there are people who genuinely care. But the point is that they have been misled by a cynical campaign by the media, by politicians, by NGOs, and by the leaders of the Palestinian cause throughout its existence. They've been lied to. They've been told it is a cause based on legitimate grievance, that it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. But it turns out that it does, that it has everything to do with anti-Semitism. It turns out that it is based on ideological hatred. It's not based on a legitimate grievance, not based on desire for statehood and self-determination, as evidenced by what happened in Bondi, as evidenced by what happened in Manchester a few months ago, as evidenced by what happened throughout Israel's existence and beforehand, when Jews are targeted for being Jews. Israelis targeted, not because they're government officials, because of who they are, their identity, because Israel dares to exist. And for those who say, well, it's resistance from stolen lands, really? As I say, what were the Islamic pogroms against the Jews of Sfat in northern Israel about in the 1830s? What were they resisting then? We've been lied to, and the scary part is there are many people, even in our own camps, that start to believe some of the lies and nonsense. We have to be unashamed in saying it and speaking the truth. That's what Rabbi Eli Schlanger would have wanted. That's what he said. This was the Chabad rabbi that was killed yesterday. It was his event, Hanukkah at the beach. He said, in the fight against anti-Semitism, the way forward is to be more Jewish, act more Jewish, and appear more Jewish. That's what he said. At Bondi, a tent has now been erected for Jews to pray and put on tefillin, featuring a large photo of Rabbi Eli Schlanger, a London boy, by the way, described as murdered in cold blood by terrorists in Sydney, alongside the quote that I mentioned. That's what we have to be doing. That's what JTV is all about as well, my friends. About shining the light of truth and of Jewish wisdom. And I really believe, and I know in my heart, and the inevitable conclusion of Jewish history is when the Jewish people are finally treated as a light to the world they were always meant to be. We believe they have been and are. But it's just that the world now needs to come to appreciate it. Before I wrap up, I want to take some of your comments. If some of you have any thoughts or questions or anything really that you want to say. So let's have a look. We have a comment from Such Is Life 64. It is these progressive governments with their thinking of welcome all, come in, no vetting. This will happen again. We need strong leadership. Absolutely. We've buried our heads in the sand, haven't we? For far too long. And it's all coming home to roost now. So we all really need to wake up. Philly Scar said, truth and morality are absolute for all people at all times and in all places. There are no relative truths. There is no thing as hate speech, only speech. Such as Life also said, here in Sydney, we saw a video of fireworks going off. Well, I assume you mean in response to what happened. Again, we shouldn't be surprised by this. It was in Sydney, Australia, where on October the 8th, 2023, there are people celebrating in the centre of the city, mainly Muslims, saying Allahu Akbar and gas the Jews. This was not about Palestinian human rights or self-determination. It's none of that at all. If you can't see that by now, well, you frankly need to go back to kindergarten. Hello from Tbilisi. I'm British but live in Georgia. I went to Israel last year, loved it, and have videos on my channel. I'll always defend you guys, by the way. There's no danger for Jews there. Well, appreciate that. Annabelle says, how to go about meaningful friendships with non-Jews who aren't condemning anti-Semitism. Great question. Bit of a tricky one. First of all, just in terms of one's own friends, I don't think you can have as your closest friends, your closest friends, I'm not saying not in your orbit, but as your closest friends, they have to be people whose values you would like to rub off on you. The Talmud says you should acquire for yourself a friend. It says the two people that you should go about seeking, other than obviously a spouse, is a rabbi, which really means a mentor. That could be a male or female, a rebbitzin, or whoever you see as a wise person, rooted in the right values, and a friend. Clearly, because it acknowledges that these are two people who have a massive impact on you. So much so that it says, actually, make for yourself a rabbi, acquire a friend, and judge everyone favorably. Now, what's judging everyone favorably got to do with finding a friend and a mentor? I had a brilliant insight by Rabbi David Foreman. He says, because maybe what it's saying is you should judge everyone favorably to the exclusion of your rabbi and your closest friends. Why? Because if you see some random person or someone in your community that you could judge them badly for, you should try and judge them in a good light. If you see your mentor or your friend doing something dodgy or potentially wrong, you can't afford to judge them favorably. You have to confront them and call them out and ask them what's going on, because they're worried about how it's going to impact on you. So for closest friends, I think one should want to have people whose values you share. It doesn't mean you have to be completely uniform, but people that you feel like this is a good person, this is someone with a good, decent sense of decency, a sense of moral compass. And for those who are unable, once you explain to them, and this is assuming you've explained it clearly to them, who are unable to see the justice and righteousness of calling out anti-Semitism and, you know, the basic truths that we know about Israel's cause and about the anti-Semites, if they're unable to see that, I think there's a real hole in their moral compass. So that's just about your inner circle. For those who are just in your circle, in your orbit, I don't think you have to be quite as purist. I would kind of say, to be honest, you should never be a closed book to anyone. You should try to educate people. You should raise awareness without shoving it in people's faces. Maybe you can just be an activist and speak out and let them see it and let them decide for themselves. But I don't really believe in boycotting. That's what the other side try to do. Shut people down, silence you, cancel you. I always believe in the importance of dialogue and conversation, for as much as people are willing to have it. And I think it's all kind of one clear principle here. The closest people in your concentric circle should be ones who your values are quite well aligned. Then people who maybe they're not quite getting it or they're not speaking out or whatever, Try to talk to them, educate them, see if you can have a conversation, and, see how you can navigate it, see how they react. And I don't believe in shutting people off, but I think for people who are, just don't want to show any interest, or more than that, take the opposite view, I think maybe they should just be at the edges of your concentric circle if you feel like nothing can be done. But I don't believe in shutting the door on people. I also really strongly believe that we shouldn't be shoving it in people's faces. You can have open, calm conversations with people, and you should not be confrontational. For many people, understandably, this is not the top of their agenda. It's not the top of their issues to care about. What they care about is often driven by the media. And therefore, because of the media's complicity, we have to appreciate that they're very influenced by that. They think Israel's this terrible, evil power. And so we should start from that premise and understand that there has to be some educating that we can do. But it should be non-confrontational. It should be with in the spirit of educating and enlightening. And I think that's the kind of tone that we should always be taking. And as I say, only those who show the most serious unwillingness to see moral sense should we leave at the furthest outskirts of our social circles. Mike N-year for life, I don't know exactly how to say that, said, my friend apologized for admitting the first 12 years of our friendship was a lie and he wanted me dead. If he hadn't become an apostate, who knows what happens? Okay. Syntactic Operator said, someone explain why anti-Semitism only relates to Jews. Why not other Semites? That's a great question, and we probably should do a video explaining this at some point. So anti-Semitism was coined to describe Jewish hatred. Why? Because it was referring to the fact that Jews are Semites. Semites comes from the word Shem. Shem was one of Noah's sons, and Jews are descendants of Shem. So are Arabs, by the way. They're also Semitic. So that's where the confusion comes. People say, hey, anti-Semitic, but aren't Arabs also Semites? Yes. But the term has been used. I can't remember who it was. Someone, I think it was in the 1800s, some kind of racial... I think it was actually quite... I forgot the person's name, but I think he was actually quite hostile to Jews himself. He just coined the term to describe hostility towards Jews. So yes, Semite can refer to also people that aren't Jews. That's why Arabs and Jews do share some kind of similar genetic features. But the term itself has come to mean Jew hate. So I hope that can clarify things for you, and I think that's very good that you asked that point. But anyway, that's going to be the end of our live. We've got some more content coming out today. And as I say, if you're able to support us in any way you can, we'd be so, so grateful. You are powering our channel. This is the channel that you are building. So I'm so grateful for your support. And once again, I'll show you our campaign video. And if you're able to, please click the link below in the video description and help us to grow over this coming year.
On JTV, the global Jewish channel with a host named Ali.
Well, when even she's talking about you, you know you're having an impact. Thanks for the promo, Candice. When I launched JTV, the mission was simple: to bring Jewish ideas to the world, intelligently, creatively, proudly. But I never realised just how critical that mission would become today. Because let's be honest, look at the world right now. Anti-Semitic voices aren't just coming from one place anymore. They're rising from the left and the right, online and offline, from influencers to institutions. That makes voices like ours more crucial than ever. When the noise gets louder, the Jewish voice needs to get stronger. And that's exactly why JTV exists. And look how far we've come. Because of your support, JTV has grown in extraordinary ways. Our videos now reach millions across continents with clear, honest, original content at a time when the world needs clarity more than ever. Whether it's telling the uncompromising truth about Israel or the incredible depth and wisdom of Jewish ideas. We've brought you exclusive interviews with leading thinkers, creators, and voices shaping the Jewish and Israel conversation today. And in addition to our new members streaming platform, we've produced powerful documentaries that are freely available on our YouTube channel for everyone to watch. exploring the challenges and triumphs of the Jewish story. And the best part? We're not just talking to an echo chamber. Our audience is made up of Jews and non-Jews in equal measure, of all ages and backgrounds. You've watched us grow, video by video, story by story, but this is just the beginning. Now JTV is ready for its next leap forward, to scale our content, expand our reach, and bring thoughtful and inspiring Jewish media to an even wider global audience. And this is where you come in. Your support fuels everything: the research, the cameras, the creativity, the deeper investigations, the editing, the more high-profile interviews, and the bold ideas that inspire pride, wisdom, and truth. Every viewer matters, every story counts, and every donation helps JTV grow, not just in numbers, but in global impact. So if you've ever appreciated one of our videos, if JTV has ever informed you, inspired you, or helped you help others, please help us grow by clicking the link in the video description and donating to our campaign fundraiser. With your help, you won't just watch us grow, you'll help us grow even higher. Thank you, and keep watching us grow.